Good morning. It is Lisa Copeland, and today is Wednesday, November 14th, 15 minutes of fierce. Oh my God, I missed y'all. Hold on, let me get you out here so I can see you. I hope everyone is doing great. I want to first do a huge shout out to Mr. Ken Walls to thank him for hosting my show while I was in Las Vegas working. So Ken, I don't see you out there yet, but thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you staying and showing up for the show even when I wasn't there, but I was there in spirit, sort of, because it was Las Vegas. It was 4:45 in the morning, and I know a ton of you are going to say, well, Lundy did his show. And Lundy did do his show to the point where he'd say, I have to have a 3-hour sleep cycle, so I'm going to bed. And anyway, so kudos to my good friend Glenn Lundy, because he was up every morning doing that show. But again, you guys, I totally missed you. So I want to do some shout outs this morning. Crystal and Chris and Anthony and Michelle and Laura and Melissa. Who else am I missing? I can't see you guys up there. Anyways, but I just felt like something was missing. I got up in the morning and I'm like, I got stuff to talk about. If you guys can tell, I'm just totally clogged up. You know, I don't smoke. I've never smoked. And going to Las Vegas, it does it to me every single time. Like, you know, when you're going into, and I was literally just walking through the casinos. Do you know, I did not put not one dime, into a slot machine. You know, I don't gamble. But what I want to talk about today is how teamwork makes the dream work. And to kind of tell you a little bit more about Las Vegas and about what we did out there. So I was one of the opening keynote speakers for FCA, which is Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, for the Western Region Conference. So for me, it was just old home week. I got to see all my friends from the factory, a bunch of my dealer friends, a bunch of friends of mine that are no longer dealers, that are vendors. It was the best. It was the best 72 hours. And I had spoken to Lundy a couple of days earlier, and I said, I'm speaking twice, and they hired me to talk about building a movement. And I'll tell you about that in a second, because it was amazing, the feedback we got from them. And I said, and Glenn, I said, you ought to come out there. You ought to, I ought to get you on stage the second half, and let's talk about the movement that you built in the auto industry and about how the great ones build movements, right? And, I didn't, he had just had a baby, and I just thought, well, I'm going to throw it out there because he and I are so aligned fundamentally in what we do and what we talk about and the experience we have in the automotive industry. And, he calls me the next morning. He's like, I bought an airline ticket. I'm like, okay, all right, that's good. You go. And, he had a baby that was 3 days old when he made that business decision to come. Now, I know he's glad he came because it was amazing. And he and I made some really big contacts and had a couple business opportunities put in front of us that I think one of them, I do think that we're going to act on. But anyways, so, we get there and we get downstairs and we had lunch that morning. I guess it was probably brunch. And I said, hey, they want slides on what we're going to talk about. And I said, so I'm going to go back to my room and I'm going to make the slides. Whatever. And have you ever just worked with somebody where it's just boom, 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 boom? Like, we didn't need the slides, but it was 3 ballrooms put together and there was 500 or 600 people in the room. So just from a visual standpoint, we needed to have the slides, and to really talk them through what it is that we were trying to tell them and really be able to show 500 to 600 car dealers how to go from idea to impact. Idea to impact. And that's what the big sell, that's what the big sell is all about. And I was able to speak really heavily to these dealers about, the importance of women in the automotive industry, both from a retail standpoint and from an internal standpoint, and these dealers, this is Las Vegas, Nevada. They are engaged. They want to know more. They wanted to know how, Glenn and I, started movements within our dealership and how to galvanize people. And it was just so great. And I told him that night at dinner, I said, this is when we know we're moving the football, is when you got a room full of car dealers in Las Vegas where they could be doing about anything and they want to talk to you about it. I had, I don't know, 300 or something sign up with me afterwards to follow. And it was crazy, but I don't think I would have had the success on that stage, or maybe I probably would have had the success, but not the impact, right? Because together we are more impactful than we are by ourselves, because by myself, I would have just been telling, okay, let's do this, let's do this. But having a partner up on stage, having somebody I could collaborate with and share stories with, and it was my perspective, it was his perspective. That teamwork made the dream work. And he and I went to dinner that night. Now, I watched his show yesterday, and he says, it was hundreds of people and I was nervous. Okay, you guys, he wasn't nervous. He went up there and he crushed it. And I will tell you this, when you're a speaker, it is really hard to share the stage with somebody. It just is, especially when, you'd kind of just decided late into the game that you're going to share the stage. But that's what happens when you're mentally aligned with your partner, with your business partner, right? And so when we're on that stage and we fundamentally believe the same thing, that's when teamwork makes the dream work. And so, it was really my job just to kind of keep on track and get the answers to the questions. And it was his idea to really expand on it. And his job is to expand on it and to really talk about what is happening in today's car dealerships, and the struggles that people have to survive on the retail side of the house, And then for me to come in and talk about the overarching idea of how to take an idea and create impact, because in today's consumer environment and in employing people today, people want to be inspired. And we talked about both of our groups. I talked about big sellers, and he talked about rise and grind, and how we've got this amazing groups of people that wake up every single morning so that they can listen to us, and so that we can collaborate and we can brainstorm, and we've built these communities. And I'll tell you, some of the people in the room, they look like they'd just been, but afterwards, people came up to us and they said, wow, how do we build community? How do we, I have ideas, I've got dreams. How do we create impact? And not everybody on this show is going to have the privilege, and it is a privilege, to stand on a stage in front of a captive audience of 500 to 600 people, taking notes on every word that you say. You don't have that. But how are you going to create impact? How are you going to get your message out? Who are you going to team up with to do it? Because I believe completely that together we were better. Together we were better. In fact, I got a text, and I don't know if Glenn's on here or not, because I'm kind of on my soapbox right now, but one of the executives said, and this is, and Lundy saw it, he said, everybody, this is an executive, said loved, loved, loved. That was 3 loves, you and Glenn Lundy on stage today. 3 loves from an executive who wrote a big check for me to be there. So when you incite that type of emotion, and I don't know that by myself or Lundy by himself, we might have gotten 1 love, but could we have gotten 3 loves? Loved, 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 you and Lundy. Because we played off of each other. We played off of our expertise. We played off of our passion. We played off of our compassion. Think about a third of the people in that audience are in California, because it was California, Denver, and the West Business Center. So I think they represented about 250 dealers, or dealerships, and there were people in that audience that were scared to death that either, they were going to lose their home, or somebody they know might lose their home. And not to take it to a downer, but they picked me up at 11 to take me to the airport yesterday, and I had a business call with it was FCA in California. They're a client of mine, and the first 5 or 10 minutes of the call, just hearing them talk about the threat that they're under. The threat that they're under, their homes are under, the homes of their friends are under, and then just to be able to come back and circle back around and do business. It was a very, very interesting time, but I'll tell you this, it was, and just like the phone call I was on, it's almost like, we're all in this together. We all have this common good, this common goal, that we want to create excellence, and that we want to, galvanize both our people and our consumers and things like that. And that's where I want to really want you guys to be digging in and thinking about, I know every single one of you has an idea, and how are you going to create impact? Lundy and I stepped off that stage, and we were just like, yes, yes, yes. And we had dinner that night with a bunch of the executives, and they said, you and Lundy need to create a 20 group. You guys need to do this. You need to do that. And I said, Lundy, if you and I did everything that they told us to go do right now, we wouldn't have time to do what we're doing. But that is the excitement that you create. Trendy, good morning, Max and Anthony, Janelle. Okay, so anyways, but I want you guys to know how much I missed you and just how much I appreciate. Again, it's like I said at the top of the hour, Ken Wall's jumping in for me and running the show. I am a little more of a wimp than Lundy is. I just know that if I'm on 2 hours sleep, I'm not going to be as good at 4:45 in the morning as Lundy is. I'm just not. But I know he did his every day, so he made me look bad. Natalie, good morning. So, again, teamwork makes the dream work. And I really came away from there going, there are so many people that are so aligned with what I'm talking about. There's so many people that that can help me push out that message. Just like I said, my good friend Glenn Lundy, and I'm so proud of him. And I heard on his show, he was telling people, he was like, oh yeah, it's only my second time on stage and my knees were knocking. You would not have known his knees were knocking. He crushed it. Liza, good morning. Hey, if your ears were burning out there, girl, I was talking about you. The article in Automotive News was fantastic. I'm proud to call you friend. And Dina, anyways, Ken, good morning. I see you're on here. I thought you might be sick of this by now. Anthony, hello. Dan Moore is in the house. Dan, I hope everything's okay where you're at. All my friends out in California, I'm worried about you guys, man. I'm worried about you. This is just, it's getting out of control. It's absolutely getting out of control. Lisa Walker, how are you, my friend? So this is about the time of the morning that I'm going to ask you guys, if you see value in this show, to share it. We picked up, I don't know, probably a ton of new big sellers when we were out there. But this community is building, and I know that every single one of you has an idea that you want to create impact with. And my biggest takeaway from Las Vegas was that I can create impact with other people. Because other people are aligned, meaning my good friend Glenn Lundy or our audience. And people came out and said, would you come to our stores? Would you do this? Would you do that? So I don't think there's a person on this planet that doesn't want to create impact. It's just, how are you going to do it? What's your plan? Well, I'm going to tell you firsthand that teamwork makes the dream work. Find people to collaborate with. Find people to collaborate with. I loved collaborating with Glenn. We had a great time. Dan Moore. It's very smoky, but had some family lose their homes. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, my friend. It's just, I can't even stand it. I can't stand it. And I don't know. How do you survive that? How do you survive losing everything? Your spirit and your mind. So just big love and prayers to, Dan and Carrie Weiss. And, we have so many friends out there in California. It just seems senseless to me. And anyways, so guys, we're thinking about you, but I'm so glad to be back. So I just want to leave you with today. Share this, like it. You guys comment, just the fact that you showed up every morning and that we are the team. And together, our team is the dream work. The teamwork that we have is the dream work. But just like I told you guys, I want you to connect with people within this group, people that are on every day, people that you can collaborate with and do business with. And Natalie, find people to collaborate with and to show up. To show up. You have to show up every single day. The E in fierce is to execute. And I had this guy, I'll leave with the story. I had this guy walk up to me, and big old guy, like bodybuilder, and he just looked like, don't mess with him, man. Do not mess with him, just a sweetheart of a guy. And he said, I really like that fierce thing. He said, but I want to take notes because I saw the slide of what it meant. And he said, but would you tell it to me again? And I said, sure. And he says, I think I'm going to have t-shirts made for my entire team because they have a hard time executing. And I said, well, you don't even have to do that because I've got t-shirts at lisacopeland.com. So that was fun. But anyways, guys, it is 7 a.m. I'm glad to be back. I will see you again tomorrow morning. Teamwork makes the dream work, and together we are great. And I hope you have a fantastic day. And to all of our friends in California, stay safe.